thank you for being here and not learning about breathing with Eva, I think in Studio One. And I know it's the end of your day, so I will try to make it worthwhile, but I would really like to learn a little bit about you, who I'm talking to. So please give me a hand if you are a developer. All right, and the product person? Yes, wonderful. Designer? Great. Business people? Whatever that is. Okay, you know what it is, great. And a VC? No VC. All right, we were not trying to find money here. Great. All right, well, thank you very much. I wanted to know who I'm talking to. So I will go a little bit into the human component in technology, and I want you to take a deep breath now to realize that in less than 6 months, we have 2020. When I realized that, or maybe I have to show it in numbers to make it more impressive. When I realized this, I felt like, wow, we must be in the future. And yes, we are in the future somehow, but in this future, stories like this happen. This is my daughter. She is almost 3 years old, and as every little kid in kindergarten, she gets sick every now and then. So one morning, she wakes up, and she has a red eye infection. For the Germans in the room, that's a Bindehautentzündung. So the most common thing that I can even diagnose, right? But if you have that, you need a cream that has antibiotics in it, and therefore, in Germany, you have to go to the doctor. So we were sitting in a room full of germs for what felt like 2.5 hours, to then see the doctor, who had a small talk with me, looked at her for a glimpse of an eye, like really parts of a second, turned to me and said, she has a red eye infection. And I was like, yeah, no shit. And then she is really writing a prescription. I have to go to the pharmacy. And that's when we finally get the medication that she needs. I knew exactly what she had. And in exactly that same kind of future that we are living in, I'm tracking my period with Clue. The Apple Watch can write ECGs. My Oura ring is telling me every morning how I slept and what my resting heartbeat looks like and how much activity I can spare today. And I think not only us geeks, kind of, but every single person out there has a supercomputer in their pockets, in their trousers, that can track data about health. So why am I giving you these two stories? Well, I just want to show you that there is a kind of a gap between the possibilities that we have and the reality that we are living in. There is really tons of data being kind of gathered, and also the computing power is there that we can process it. However, I don't want this to be a rant, because everybody has these kinds of stories with doctors that you needed to kind of meet, and it took hours, and it could have been a telemedical solution. I really just want to say, wow, there is this gap and we can design it, and that's where I want to deep dive a little bit into how can we make the solutions a little bit more human than technology may hint at. So this is where digitalization and AI, these two big terms, right, as you said, come into the game. And what I've seen quite often is that people get afraid, especially when it comes into health, because we all care about our health. That's kind of the #1 thing that we should care about. And therefore, people get afraid about these two terms. But when you look at it for real, AI, it's only called AI if it's not working. If something is working, as you just mentioned, it has a name. It's called speech recognition, for example. And the same, I think, holds true for digitalization, and we shouldn't forget that. So these terms, they shouldn't be kind of they shouldn't scare us, but we should really look into the use cases, and that's why I'm here, the human component of all of it. So the human centricity is kind of the main point of digitalization and AI. It's all about the human in the end. And I get asked very often, what is a good product? What's a good digital product? And my answer may seem too simple, but for me, a good digital product is a product that is being used by actual people, right? And usually people only use products because they solve a problem for them. So it's a very, very simple answer. I think, yeah, I wanted to give you a little intro about myself. I'm a product person, as many of you in the audience. I have built products for the past 12 years. And I've started in the entertainment industry, where I've built a learning platform for children for Nickelodeon, and then went on to build games, which was quite an amazing ride for several years, Facebook and mobile games. And that's very interesting because you get a lot of usage data. We will go into that in a second a bit deeper. But that's where I really learned how to use usage data to learn about actual humans that are using our products or our games. And then I said, okay, fine, games are nice and entertainment is important, but I moved into the healthcare business because I wanted to do something with a little bit more intrinsic motivation. But also I do believe that what is usually called gamification, but I don't like the word, motivational, let's say, strategies, they can help in digital solutions. And I moved on to Clue, which you may know, it's a female health tracker or a period tracker. And I will give some examples about that in a bit. And then, funny enough, I got pregnant at Clue and traveled the world with my daughter. And then when I came back, I got approached by some people that asked me whether I wanted to help them building Heartbeat Labs, which is a digital health platform. We are on the one hand side investing into digital health startups, but also we are starting companies that are building digital solutions for health. And we have started 5 in the past 2 years. And we are pretty young in the business, I would say. And our core kind of goal is to bring people together that are usually not hanging out together. Because you are usually hanging out together. Product people and designers, they tend to meet. But medical people, medical practitioners, people from the healthcare environment don't usually hang out with engineers. So that's what we are trying to do. We are trying to bring together the right people at the right time to build products for the digital space, digital health space. Oh, you said that, so I don't have to say it again. I'm also working for the Chancellor and her ministers, trying to help them with digitalization, which is also very interesting. All right. So, to keep this short, I have 8 thoughts that I have gathered that I wanted to share with you, and please feel free to ask questions, raise your hand, although I don't see you pretty well, but you can also shout if you want. I'm happy to answer them. All right, so the first thought for me is, and I have learned that the hard way, you may not be the typical user. I think it's very clear that whenever you build a digital service or a digital product, you have to start with an actual problem. But something that you may think is a problem may not be a problem. So I've very well spent a lot of money on games that were intellectual and funny, and I was laughing at them hardly. Nobody ever cared about them. But at the same time, I also built a game that was quite successful. And I think the story here is the first company that we have started as Heartbeat Labs was an idea by a dentist and a business person. And they came up with the problem that young families or pregnant women have, that they really need some kind of support in this very special time of life, I would say. So who has a child in the audience? All right, 2 or 3, wow. Make children, guys and girls. Anyway, so it's fun. Well, you know that. All right, so when they started with the idea, they said, well, we should have a digital midwife. So basically, it's really a digital measure, a digital channel between an actual midwife and the family. Because when you start Googling while you're pregnant, within 3 minutes, you have a 3rd leg or you are almost dead. And that's not really helpful. So they said, well, it would be really cool if if a midwife would be also reachable through a chat or a call, basically. And then they pitched this to a room of white males, and they stared at them and said, what's the need? I don't get it. And I wasn't part of that meeting, but I came in later, and essentially because I was coming out of parental leave, I had my daughter with me, and I was like, yeah, I do understand the need, so why don't we build an MVP and just see if somebody's interested? So I think the core thought here is look over in German you would say, über den Tellerrand blicken. Don't build products for yourself, but build it for an actual user need. Then I think the second thing is no problem is too small to start with. And I think in the general understanding of at least my product development philosophy is that my first ideas are usually pretty crap. And I'd rather find that out earlier than later. So the product that I have to build should be the smallest to kind of prove the hypotheses that are in there. And another example from Kinderhelden, that's the midwife platform. When we started together, the two boys said, wow, okay, great. We have 8 weeks, we are building an app, and we are building it for Android, and we are building it for iOS, and we are also building a website, and our own chat, and our own video chat. I was like, whew, let's take a deep breath and think what is the actual kind of smallest product that we have to build to find out whether there is an actual need out there or not, if people actually use kind of a digital midwife. And that's when we started to build a website. And today it's still a website and it's running. We are working with, I think it was 8 or 9, what did you say yesterday? 8 or 9 midwives, and it's running very well. The German healthcare system kind of acknowledges us, and Barmer is also paying for the service, so that's pretty nice. All right, the next thought. As I said, like throughout coming up with digital products and services, you kind of take a lot of assumptions. I can work another 10 years in product. I will not be able to come up with the perfect product by just sitting down and thinking about it. So the only way of really building something meaningful is that you test a lot, and you test it with actual users. And I hear very often that you have to listen to your users. And I would like to say, no, don't listen to your users, but actually look at them. So the way we are doing it is that we are doing user tests, we are inviting people, and then we kind of look at them, how they are using the products. And one last example from Kinderhelden, because I found it very helpful. If we would have just listened to them, what they said, when we asked, is this user-friendly, can you use it, is it fine? We would have never found out what we found out when we did an actual test. So we invited mothers and kind of watched them using the service on the mobile phone, and everything was working well. They were happy, and it was smooth, and we were already partying about the quality of our amazing ideas. And then a mother came in and brought her little son, and she was using it with her baby in the arms. So here was the baby, and here was the phone, and she struggled. And that's when I realized that's the actual situation our users are in. Probably when they want to talk to a midwife, they will have their baby somewhere on them. And they should still be able to use our platform. So we had to rethink it and really understand. And we would have never found this out if we had just kind of asked questions. We really needed to look. The next thing is data. And I think data, I could talk for 20 minutes about data only. So I will just drill it down to 3 points. One is usage data, and I said so about the games. It was really great to be in the games business because there are so many users, and you can learn so much about the users and how they are actually using your games and what they like and what they don't like about it. In the health business, it's still the same. We look at users where we look at the usage data where we are losing users, for example, in funnels, and then really learn which kind of ideas were crap from us and which were actually working. But data has obviously also the user data, and in health I think it's a huge topic, and I just want to give you 2 examples where one, a personal kind of data or a health history had a huge impact on the outcome, and also what mass data can help us with. I think when we look at personal data, it must be very clear that every user has kind of the ownership of the data, right? And one example from Clue is that we got kind of a user feedback, a letter, stating that a woman had tracked her period through Clue, and she had a very regular period. And all of a sudden, something became irregular. And she realized this because she was looking at the data through Clue all the time. And because it was so irregular, she went to the doctor, and the doctor said, well, there is a pre-form of cancer, but because they found it so early, they could kind of get rid of it, and she's now healthy, and she was very, very thankful. So this is the kind of information that data can give you, and you can all of a sudden take informed decisions based on data. I will skip the second example because I only have 20 seconds left, so I have to be quick. 5, robots will be robots. I think, and that's the 6th thing, humans will be humans. Whenever we talk about robots, for example, there is also this big scare of, are robots and AI taking over the world? And I think we should really look at it in a more differentiated way. So, for example, recently a friend of mine gave me an example where they are taking care of their grandmother at their house. And this grandmother, she was actually asking for a robot to help her because she was humiliated to always ask for help of their relatives whenever something fell down, whenever she needed something. So it's not that AI or robots or machines will take over the world, will replace the humans. We will always need this. But there are always other angles to look at these topics. And I would really like to, I would really be happy if we looked at them without being afraid. And then humans will be humans. I think that's very important because we will always have doctors, right? So have you ever had the situation where the dentist touches your shoulder while they are drilling down your teeth? I think it's a very good moment to feel that I think no machine will ever replace this. And there are some specific skills in humans, like empathy, communication, that we will always need and that no machine will ever replace. So I think that's what we are working for. Whenever we are digitizing something, we are kind of trying to get rid of all the tasks that machines can do so that the humans, the doctors, the medical practitioners, can focus on what is actually human about them and what is actually needed in the patients. Do I have 2 seconds? All right, so just 2 product designer remarks. Make people smile. Have you ever heard the words healthcare and beautiful in one sentence? Probably not. I think we should hear that more often, and that's also a goal for us that whatever we build, it makes people smile. I think bad or ugly products, they are hard to touch, so it's very, very important. And one of the kind of design pillars of Clue, for example, was happiness. We wanted to make people happy whenever they opened the app. And I think especially in health, this is very important because people don't like to manage their diseases. They don't want to be reminded of their diseases all the time. All right, and then the last, and that's also a recommendation and my motto for the year. I was recently watching the portrait of Dieter Rams. He's kind of the buzz person of the design community. Who knows Dieter Rams? Okay, not so many. So he was the head of design of Braun, right? For many, many years. He's a very old man now. And it's a very nice portrait. It's very sensibly filmed. If you want to see it, go ahead. But his motto, and he kept saying it for design, but also for life, less but better. So whatever we build, it needs to simplify the life of our patients, of our users, of other stakeholders in the system. It shouldn't make it more complex. So that is very, very important to actually reach users. All right, so to sum this up, our vision as Heartbeat Labs is that we really want to bring the best possible care by user-centric solutions. And I think that's kind of our ultimate goal, and I want to read this out because I like it a lot. No matter what else is going on, the world stops once you enter a room and are face-to-face with the patient and their family. You can only care for one patient at a time. That patient in that room at that moment is the only patient that matters. That is the secret to healthcare. Thank you very much, and if you have questions, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. If Slido doesn't come up, let me ask you a question. Do you think the media has, I'm taking you back, I suppose, to the original point, an awful lot of responsibility in all of this? I mean, we can see it everywhere, from Fox News in the US to tabloids in the UK to Telecinco in Spain. I mean, we can see it. We can see these sort of sensationalist media outlets. But even the tech crunches of this world. Oops, a friend of mine from TechCrunch is here. But you know what I mean. Everything is like is dumbed down, and AI is overused. Not only when it doesn't work, but also when they're trying to sell something. Oh, maybe they've got lots of data. They've got an AI play. Do you think the media that we really need to think about how we can create a more honest media?
Wow, that's a tough question, and that's kind of also my mission for the year, that I'm fighting for I would say, well-balanced media, right? Where you really look and where you differentiate. And I think it's not only AI, it's also digitalization, where it becomes this monster, and we kind of put everything on digitalization, and all of a sudden we expect everything to be solved by it. And I think one really important aspect is that if it solves a problem, it can also be very small. But the media would kind of make it, oh, this is banal, and ha ha ha, that's a funny solution. If it solves a problem, wonderful. It can't be too small, I would say. Yeah. So yes, I think would be the short answer to your very complex question.
It is big complex, yeah.
I wish for a really well balanced, sometimes positive, sometimes more critical. I think everything is fine, but it should be well balanced.
Absolutely. And just before we finish, and I'm always slightly scared to ask this because maybe everyone's feeling shy right now, but please don't feel shy. I didn't see any Slido up there, but is there any brave person in the audience that might have a question for Stephanie before we tie up?
There is one.
Oh, there we go. Shout loud.
So usually we really do them in person. I have had the situation where I had a third-party provider doing it for us, and we were sitting behind a glass and just looking at it, but then we kind of got a 100 pages long list of things we had to change, and we never changed a single thing. So I think it's really important also for the motivation of the team to kind of really bring the users in and really look at them failing. It hurts every single time. But then if you then kind of change one UX detail and all of a sudden users find their way better through the solution, it's also the most motivating thing in the world. So, and then I think for the US, for example, we used user-testing.com, which is a great service. You can then watch the videos afterwards, but it has also its downsides because sometimes you just don't watch them. And then I think all the learnings are lost. But sometimes it's the only solution if you are looking at a US-based customer base, for example. That doesn't really answer your question. We can talk about it later as well.
So Stephanie, thank you so much for your beautiful mission and explaining it to the audience. I wish you best of success, okay?
Thanks.
Cool.
Have a great afternoon.
That was great.